Okay, we're about to start. Liberia's first adaptation, communication, validation, and stakeholders workshop held at the Lutheran Guesthouse on 13th Street, Sinkor, Monrovia, Liberia, held on the 25th day of November, the year 2021, at about this time. We've gone through the health formalities of the strongest conviction that everyone has registered. If not, after taking the group photo, please be sure that that is done. We now move into special opening remarks, and we'll be hearing first from the NAP Global Network that is providing technical support for the development of Liberia's first adaptation communication. The remark is a pre-recorded remark, and we'll urge you to kindly be attentive and listen to the special statement from the NAP Global Network.
Good morning, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, and greetings from Canada. It is my great pleasure and honor to be making opening remarks at this validation workshop for the adoption of Liberia's first adaptation communication, or AdCom. My name is Deborah Murphy, and I'm a Senior Associate with the International Institute for Sustainable Development, or IISD. And I have been engaged by the NAP Global Network, which is hosted by IISD, to work with the Liberia team on the preparation of your country's first AdCom. Firstly, I would like to extend thanks to the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, who is leading the process to develop the AdCom. The very impressive document that you will review and validate today was prepared under the very strong leadership of Professor Wilson K. Tarpe, who is the Executive Director and CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia. Many thanks to Professor Tarpe and his team for the continued support and positive income to this AdCom process. I would also like to thank the following individuals for their contributions, as they were instrumental in the completion of this document. Mr. Jefferson F. Nyandibo, who is the UNFCCC focal point for Liberia, Professor Benjamin S. Carmore, the Junior Chief Technical Advisor of the EPA, and Mr. Arthur Becker, Project Officer of Multilateral Environmental Agreements, who was instrumental in initiating this work. I would also like to thank Mr. E. Tennessee Wilson, the national consultant who was engaged to support the EPA with these efforts. I'd like to note that I had the pleasure of meeting Professor Tarpe and members of the EPA team while at the COP26 climate change meetings in Glasgow. The warm welcome I received from all of you reminds me of why I work in the area of adaptation. The dedication and the passion of the EPA officials to address adaptation and to help your country deal with the impacts of climate change were very evident in our conversations, and also very evident in their actions to move quickly to prepare the adaptation communication. Their dedication reflects that the urgency and the scale of the climate challenge is real. And it reflects the outcomes of the UNFCCC meetings in Glasgow, where adaptation was an object of particular emphasis during deliberations. The COP26 decisions identified the need for collective actions and collective solutions to the climate crisis. The adaptation communication is an important part of this international process because it highlights the importance of adaptation. It is a mechanism for countries to report priorities, implementation and support of needs, plans, and actions. By submitting an AdCom to the UNFCCC, Liberia helps to enhance the visibility and the profile of adaptation, helps to enhance the learning and understanding of adaptation needs and actions, and helps to strengthen adaptation action and support in developing countries. In addition, This AdCom allows Liberia to provide input to the UNFCCC's Global Stocktake, which is a process for taking stock of the implementation of the Paris Agreement. The AdCom is important for Liberia. It will be a useful communication tool for informing your domestic communities and constituencies, and it's also important for building profile with the international community about how Liberia is preparing to address the impacts of climate change. I personally have reviewed Liberia's draft AdCom, and as you will see today, the document highlights the threats and related impacts of climate change in Liberia. It recognizes the impacts of climate change on the country's national development agenda. It calls for mainstreaming of adaptation in national development plans and programs, and it highlights good practices and lessons learned in regard to adaptation. I'm very impressed with the wealth of information in this document, and I'm very impressed at the key messages that will be conveyed to the international community. Importantly, the AdCom highlights the need for increased financial support for adaptation in Liberia, and it highlights the importance of implementing Liberia's new National Adaptation Plan, or NAP. We at the NAP Global Network are very pleased to have worked with Liberia, and we are impressed that the NAP is aligned with this AdCom. NAP processes drive coordination, they set policy priorities, they mobilize resources, allocate support, and track progress in countries' efforts to achieve their adaptation goals. The NAP Global Network has been assisting developing countries to advance their NAP processes since 2014. Our work includes technical support to developing countries, as well as peer learning and the development of knowledge products. Financial support for the network has been provided by the governments of Austria, Canada, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The United Kingdom's Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office provided the funding for the NAP Global Network to partner with countries like Liberia to develop their adaptation communication. In closing, I would again like to thank the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, for their partnership. We're thrilled to have worked with the EPA, and we will explore options to continue this partnership going forward. As climate change impacts scale up, it is imperative that we accelerate adaptation planning and action in order to build resilience and reduce vulnerability. In closing, I wish you very productive discussions in this workshop, and I look forward to hearing about the results of today's discussions. Thank you.
Our meeting today, guys.
Those were special remarks by Madam Deborah Murphy from the NAP Global Network on behalf of the NAP Global Network. We have on the agenda remarks by UNDP Liberia, but I don't see as of yet a representative from UNDP Liberia in the room. So we'll move on to official remarks on behalf of the Executive Director and CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia. And to make these remarks on his behalf, this will be done by Mr. J.S. Atoma Kemu, who is the officer in charge of multilateral environmental agreements at the EPA.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Executive Director of the EPA, the Department Head of the Multilateral Environmental Agreement, and the entire EPA family, I bring to everybody. National development is a challenge, and a process also that require planning. When you plan poor, you get poor results. You plan better, you get better results. The advent of climate change has changed the global face of national development. And you know, what will I say the record? After reading the background document they gave me, I have to understand that our national, let's say, adaptation communication, Liberia is among the very 10 countries to develop one. But this time, I hope we will make a better history than the one that we gave before. Firstly, I would like to extend appreciation to the technicians for the MBA department, the national focal point, and our representative line ministry agency in all of the civil society organizations for the support they gave during this process. So, adaptation, because we don't have money in climate change language, climate change is here. We who don't have money, unless we go to the other side of mitigation, the first thing we go for is adaptation. What do? So, in order for us to adapt better, we need to have the various strategies and let's say tools to use, and this is just one of them. We are here today for a foundation, and I urge you to go through the document. I guess you have already gone through it. We request that you put up all your candidate views so that the document can be strengthened, so that it can meet international requirements for all to use. I request that we be very engaged in IT so that we can do the best for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. G.S. Trauma can move for those remarks on behalf of the Executive Director. At this time, I will kindly pay my indulgence that we just walk out by the panel and take our group photo, and thereafter we'll return to the room to continue this validation workshop. Yes, please. Max, please.